Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean,
Chris,
and Lee.
Are you awake?
Just about.
It's been one of those weeks, hasn't it?
It's only Monday.
Exactly. It's been a long week and it's Tuesday tomorrow. So how did we all do on our F1 free weekend, which is more of a rarity now than ever before?
well, I was at work.
All right,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, I didn't do a lot. I went swimming with my son. That's about it.
At least you got out and about. But of course, F1 is back this weekend.
Good.
And we've got a race to look forward to at the Nürburgring. You see, I'm not doing the big "it's race week" thing, because that's nearly every bloody week at the minute.
It's a bit of a thing now, isn't the whole "it's race week" post? You know, oh, yeah, great.
Yeah, I've stopped doing that. We started doing that on the podcast before it became fashionable. We were race week hipsters?
Maybe.
I haven't got a beard anymore, I shaved that off.
No, hipsters kind of jump on the trend, don't they? I think we sort of started it.
Oh,
started a lot of things.
We were influencers.
Yeah.
Hey, check out our Instagram. No, well, yeah.
It's mainly cats.
Yeah, it is, actually.
But also, Eiffel Grand Prix, which has never been held before. Mm-hmm. At the Nürburgring, which obviously has held races before.
But not for a
How
little
many
while.
drivers that are on the current grid have actually raced in F1 at the Nürburgring before?
Let's have a think. So if you're Vettel, Hamilton,
Kimi, obviously.
Raikkonen, Ricciardo.
I want to say Grosjean, because he has been around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Presumably will have done at some point.
And I think that's it.
Oof. That's a limited number I hadn't appreciated, was it?
Yeah, I didn't realise that. I mean, when was the last...
Was it 2013?
Yeah, I think 2013 was the last race at the Nürburgring.
Bloody hell, I didn't realise it had been that long. 'Cause, I mean,
Let's have a look at the field from then.
because they were meant... The Nürburgring, of course, was meant to be sharing the German Grand Prix swapping years with...
Sergio Perez.
Yeah.
Sergio
Oh,
Perez. was
Checo,
in
yeah,
that
of course,
race.
yeah, Checo will have done it.
Bottas was in that race.
Was he?
For Williams, teammate of Pastor
Okay.
Maldonado. And that's about it for the current field.
Actually, more than I thought. Then, if we got Perez and Bottas in there too, because that's still 7 out of 20. That means there's only
Still less than half the field that have raced there before, so...
yeah,
You know, a lot of drivers will only be used to it on either slower cars or sims.
yeah. Well, the Formula One sim is fairly accurate, isn't it? Or supposed to be. All the teams, the sims that the teams have. So
It's just a posh version of R Factor.
it is, yeah. But I'm looking forward to it, if I'm honest, because I think even though it's the shorter southern part of the Nürburgring, I think it's got
Still costs you $15 on iRacing.
not heritage, if you know what I mean, but it's an old school feel to the circuit. And
Do they still have the roller coaster running along the side of the start-finish straight?
Ooh.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
I don't think so.
That's a shame, because I know a few years back when there was a German Grand Prix there, they were offering massively expensive tickets to ride the roller coaster during the race alongside the cars.
Yeah.
Worst circuit I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you got shepherded in, wasn't it, to your area, and that's it. You have to stay within your area,
Yeah, it was awful.
regardless of food stands or merch stalls, etc.
Yeah, there was stuff there. You had all the stuff you needed at your corner, but yeah, you just couldn't go anywhere else.
It's a little bit sort of too efficient.
Yeah, bit too efficient.
Yeah, I'm guessing... I've not actually seen anything to the contrary, but I'm guessing no fans there this weekend again.
Oh, I thought they were doing fans.
Oh, are they having
I know
fans?
Turkey
Were
have now
doing
said
fans,
they're not doing fans, but I thought Germany were doing fans.
Turkey has cancelled fans because they were selling a lot of tickets to the Turkish Grand Prix, and they've now turned around and been like, actually, it's probably not a great idea given what's happening everywhere else.
Yeah, I think that works. Oh, just talking to fans at races, just want to thank Daniela on Twitter for saying that, giving us the capacity for Portugal and the fact that there will be fans in there. So thank you for pointing that out after last week's show.
Thank you. Yeah, because Portimao is a circuit I know very little about. I'm not going to lie.
So yeah, they are admitting 20,000 fans to the Nürburgring.
Oh, right,
Should be
okay.
a good crowd.
Okay, so does each one of them get their own corner?
That I do not know how they're going to be allocated.
There are
to
not
a
20,000 corners at the Nürburgring, Paul.
There are on
Yeah,
the,
there
there
is.
are,
Nordschleife.
Yeah.
depends which circuit. No, I think that's only got something like 162, so it may be more than one fan to each corner on that.
I think they're quite well stocked for stands, aren't they? I'm sure they'll be able to dot them about all over the place.
Quite well stocked for corners.
Yeah.
But that was the thing about Turkey. I think they were looking to get something like 100,000 in there, and they've now decided actually no, it's not happening at all.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
It's a bit too much, I think, that.
But yeah, I feel sorry for anyone that had got tickets for that.
Yeah.
Fans back in at an old school circuit, like, okay, there were fans in Sochi, but Russia hasn't really had the same lockdown measures that the rest of the world has seen.
And it's not had the same F1 heritage.
Correct. Yeah. Well, the track in Sochi is not. What I was going to follow that up with it's not. It's a Tilkodrome, isn't it? It's not a classic circuit. Whereas a Nürburgring is a real old school. Even if it has been reshaped and things have been changed, it's still the Nürburgring. The Dunlop curve at the bottom of the circuit, it changed very little from the days when they used to race on the Nordschleife. You still approach it and have to, it's still a right turn hairpin. Is it Dunlop curve? Is that the? I'm pretty sure that's the hairpin, isn't it? At the bottom of the circuit.
I think that's what it's called. It may have changed for sponsorship reasons.
Everything's called something curve at the Nürburgring.
It is one that has names, isn't it? It's
yeah. Everything. Coca-Cola curve, I think, is a final turn or something ridiculous like that.
Is there a Coca-Cola curve?
I'm pretty sure there's a Coca-Cola curve at the Nürburgring. I'm going to have to Google this now.
I'm doing exactly the same thing and wondering.
This involves lots of. You'd think we'd do some preparation for this.
No.
They would lose our rustic charm.
Yes.
That's one way of describing it.
Stick charm, I like that, yeah. That's what the Nürburgring has, isn't it?
I can't find an up-to-date map.
Let's have a look. We've got the Vorsteiner curve, the Michael Schumacher S,
there is.
the Yokohama
There's a Coca-Cola
Tyres S.
curve. Last corner at the Nürburgring, which used to be called the Coca-Cola curve.
I'm just looking on.
Doesn't say that it still is now.
Just looking on the circuit map for the last corner, but it doesn't actually say it on this particular one. I've got Wikipedia is lacking.
I can't find a proper good map.
An image search of Coca-Cola curve Nürburgring, it comes up with it.
That'll do. So anyway, yes, it'll be a heavily sponsored corner.
Of course.
Actually, here we go. There's a Nürburgring post-race notebook from a sports car race in September. And the report says the number 9 fared better over the course of the race, but lost a headlight when Andy Soucek clattered into Andrea Caldarelli as the Italian's Lamborghini suddenly slowed in front at Coca-Cola curve.
Yes,
so in September, it was still called Coca-Cola curve.
There's Coca-Cola curve, there's Castrol curve, there's Valvoline curve, there's Ford curve, there's Dunlop Carer. I don't know what a Carer is. My German has...
So that's the hairpin, though,
yes.
isn't it? The Dunlop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shell curve, RTL curve, Bit curve, ITT curve, and the Vidal chicane. Chicane spelt the German way.
Yeah.
More K's than there should be.
Just the one. Just the one.
So basically, what they're saying is they've got all that sponsorship, yet they keep claiming to have run out of money.
Well, I don't know how many. Is it £1 to name a Nürburgring?
If it's £1 to name a corner, we've got some. There's a couple of quid left in the Patreon account. Shall we try and get the 3 legs 4 wheels curve?
We probably could afford a corner.
Let's do it. Let's get onto Nürburgring. Call it the 3 legs 4 wheels curve. let's buy that Dunlop hairpin.
I don't know if do we have more money than Dunlop? I don't think
All
we
I'm
do.
saying is, if we decide to do this, we need to really, really, really explain what the three legs of man is.
Oh yeah. That's
Oh
a fair
yeah,
point.
you make
Fair
a good point. You make a good point. Yes. Yeah, we'll when we send our proposal in for the sponsorship, we'll have a large amount of explainer going on.
Yes.
Yes. Just
Pretty good
point
talking
them
point.
towards the TT races. They know that in Germany. They know TT.
Well, yeah, half of Germany turns up here every May.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm being invaded by a cat as per usual. You can tell it's podcast night. The cats that have been asleep all day are not asleep anymore.
They have not been asleep all day. Very active.
In that case, why haven't they tired themselves out?
Don't know.
Well, as long as they're quiet on Sunday when we're watching the race, that's the only thing that is really important. Although your microphone looks like it's going to take a completely different direction.
Do we want to talk about the news that we're deliberately avoiding, or should we carry on talking about the race at the Nürburgring
I
Ring?
think we probably need to get the news out the way first.
I think newsy stuff is probably for the best.
Yes.
So yes, Honda. How many times is this they've pulled out now?
It's the third time in my lifetime they've just dropped the ball on whichever team they're currently supplying and walked away purely because they think they've had enough.
And this was like a complete bombshell, though, wasn't it? It was like, oh, what?
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was in the early 90s. They were doing supplying engines to McLaren, and obviously they got totally trounced in 92 by Williams Renault. But then Honda just went, yeah, not after this year, sorry guys, and just left McLaren in the shit. And then McLaren had to
with a
had to
Peugeot.
go well, Ford it was for the first year. Had Ford the first year, Peugeot the second year. Both engines were crap. And then it was when Mercedes came on board, I think 95. It still then took them a couple of years before they started being back at the front again. So, that set, weirdly, Honda dropping McLaren set McLaren back a few years. They did the same when they rejoined. But obviously,
Well, rejoined because then there was the whole Jordan
BAR Honda.
Jordan BAR debacle.
Yeah, well, they supplied engines to Mugen Honda, didn't they, for a while?
Which Jordan got, and then they were supplying BAR at the same time, and all of a sudden they dumped Jordan,
Jordan.
Oh, hang on, let's see. Oh, yeah, Jordan got left with a Duff Ford engine, which then...
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got Honda and took over the BAR team, the Honda Works team, which of course gave Jenson Button his first win. And then towards the end of 2008, again, when things weren't going their way, they were right at the back with a really bad car, the Earth Dreams car. They were just... Actually, we don't think we'll
should have been called Point Dreams.
It should have been, yeah. Actually, we think we've had enough of this now. We're going to pull out of F1. But the thing is, because they owned a team and I think everyone's forgotten this who was around at the time, but they really left that team so deep in the shit that Ross Brawn, Brawn GP wasn't just Ross Brawn going, look how much money I've got. He bought the team. He put himself in debt to save the team, pull the team out of it, and just happened to happen upon a Mercedes engine, fitted okay in the back of the space where the Honda was supposed to go. And they had built a pretty decent car and just had the right engine to power it and dominated the first half of that 2009 season without Honda, being around. That was 90% luck, if we're perfectly honest, because had Honda stayed in the sport, yes, the car probably would have been great, but they would have had the Honda engine, which was okay.
Flammable, I think, was the best description.
Yeah, they might have got a few podiums, but they certainly wouldn't have been challenging for the World Championship. And also, they capitalised on a year when McLaren and Ferrari were awful.
Yeah.
So everything fell into place for Brawn that year.
And Red Bull just got it together too late.
Yeah. Red Bull were rising, and McLaren and Ferrari were just starting to fall away. Everything fell into place at the right time for Brawn. 2009 was a very strange year for Formula One. But then Honda disappeared again. There was all this like, oh, well, turbo engines are back. Honda are coming back to Formula One. It's like, wow, this is going to be huge because, last time Honda had turbo engines in Formula One, they were the best. And they came in with McLaren and they were awful for a couple of years. That's okay, McLaren weren't great either.
They had the best chassis on the grid.
That's debatable.
Did we ever prove that? I don't think we did prove that.
I don't think it was never disproved. Well, apart from results.
Schrodinger's chassis. Chassis?
Yeah. The best and also the worst. Sorry. Also, if Alonso is driving it, it's a World Championship winning car, but also a GP2 car. Yeah, and then, Honda seemed to redeem themselves with the Toro Rosso tie-up when it was announced that they were going to do a year with Toro Rosso and then supply both the Red Bull teams. Going forward, we thought, well, we'll see how it works out. It worked out really well. The technical partnership between those, the philosophy that obviously those teams work with and Honda work with just worked better for Honda. They don't have the worst engine this year. They've won races this year.
I think they might now.
The worst engine?
It's or it's maybe not worst engine because Ferrari still fucked, isn't it? But since the fuel map thing has changed, they've lost like a ton of performance. They have lost a bit. But I don't think it's any. No, like going forward, whatever their plans were, engine wise, I don't think it's an accident that the rule changes brought the engine map thing in. They lost a ton of performance, and then that's been enough in a boardroom to make someone go, "Nah, pull the plug on this."
Well, I was going to get to that as well, because the only thing that surprised me is how early they've stated that they're going to pull out at the end of 2021. It would be so classic of Honda to say now that they were pulling out at the end of 2020. That's the only surprise that about this, is that they've still got another year left of actually having Honda in Formula One.
To be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that the current season engines are being carried over to next year, I think they would have said that they're going at the end of the season.
Possibly,
you're right.
When it comes to road relevance, I know that they've said that, it's because we're looking at, we don't see hybrids as the future anymore. It's all got to be electric. Honda dropped the ball when it comes to this, because we've discussed it before. But Honda went down the route of hydrogen being an alternative fuel and didn't really invest in electric cars. Have now realized that all of their rivals are putting out really decent electric vehicles, that they have the technologies to sort of power themselves, where Honda are now buying things in from other companies, and it's really expensive. And am I still here?
Yes. You're still there.
Yeah, that's right.
You disappeared and then you came back quicker.
I was going to say Honda. I must have done. Honda now spending a lot of money paying other companies to do their tech for them. To put electric vehicles out on the road, and it's really expensive for them. They're way behind. They're way behind the curve when it comes to electric vehicles.
And yet they've just signed an extension with IndyCar to stay in and bring in hybrids in 2023.
Exactly. So that something doesn't ring true there.
I think it's the engines being fixed until 2026 as well.
Think that they don't like that, or you think that?
I think they don't like it. I think it's the same reason that we won't have any new engine manufacturers come in until then, is because there just simply isn't the space to make up the ground that needs to be made.
Yeah, they were all hoping
it's exactly why I think Ferrari are done for the foreseeable.
Yeah, I mean, Ross Brawn said as much. He said he can't actually see any new engine manufacturers coming in at all until the next engine reset.
Yeah.
But I mean, Honda's statement about IndyCar is, it's just... Look up,
It's a bit,
look up
bit of a
hypocrisy.
kick in the teeth.
Yeah, look up hypocrisy in the dictionary, and this is what you'll see. Because what they've said is, at Honda, we race to develop our people, to innovate technologies, and to engage fans. We are proud of our uninterrupted 27-year leadership in IndyCar. Well,
Right.
and look forward to delivering a next-generation Honda 2.4-litre hybrid power unit with more than 900 horsepower. So
So something
we're not winning.
something
We're
doesn't
not
ring
winning
true there.
everything in F1. We stand a chance of winning in IndyCar. Fuck F1. We'll just throw all our eggs into that basket.
I mean, if it's
When
if they're free to develop, that's the thing, isn't it? The like Formula One is so restrictive with the engine development. I can understand it. You know, there's so much now of problems going to arise with people needing to like save money and things like that, and it's why do it if you don't think that you have the room in the sport to actually like change and challenge, then why would you keep going?
Yeah, it's
It's a tricky one, but I mean, that they do have the opportunity to develop what they've already got. All right, it's a race-winning engine; it's not a championship-winning engine at the moment. But I'm assuming all that they're planning on doing is just ploughing all the development into this 2.4 litre IndyCar one, because F1 is going to be staying at 1.6.
even after 2026, isn't F1 staying at 1.6? They're just looking at changing what they might be doing with the ancillaries. The actual ICE, the internal combustion engine, I think is already being talked about staying as a 1.6 V6.
Mm-hmm.
But
Whereas, you've got other manufacturers, other road manufacturers, particularly Mercedes, felt the need to come out and say, well, we see that hybrid cars are going to be around right up until the very last moment where we're not legally allowed to sell them, because that there's going to be that market for them right up until they have to go electric. And that's for most governments, that's still like 15 years away.
Mm.
yeah, it just seems a shame that once again Honda screwed a team over. Also, it means that Renault may be forced into a position where they have to provide Red Bull with engines, because don't forget the rules state with the current engine supply regulations that the engine manufacturer that is supplying the least number of teams is obliged to supply any team without an engine deal. Now,
Next year, Renault are only supplying themselves.
They will be supplying Alpine, and that will be it.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to know what the relationship's like. I think Renault have already said, or Cyril Beatapil's already said, that Renault are open to supplying like Red Bull again with an engine.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder whether you're going to end up with a split Red Bull and Toro Rosso again.
It's happened before, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
with
One with a Renault, one with a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doubt they'd be exactly banging down Ferrari's door at the minute, though.
I think Ferrari are possibly trying to bang down Renault's door.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's already rumours, isn't there, about Alpha and Haas.
Haas have formally
Renault up as well.
denied. Haas have formally denied. They say it would not make sense to part company with Ferrari at the present time.
Well, yeah, because they want Callum Ilott in one of the cars next year.
That's
And
that's possibly why.
so I think it's a nailed-on certainty that it's going to be Schumacher in the Alpha.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think so.
I would
But
not
when it
be
comes-
surprised if that gets announced this weekend with like photos of him at Michael Schumacher Curve and that kind of shit.
Mm.
And of course,
Yeah.
photos of him in an Alpha in Michael Schumacher Curve in FP1, which he's doing this weekend.
Yeah, I reckon they'll confirm him and Kimi for next year.
It's looking more likely that Kimi's going to be staying, isn't it?
Yeah,
He's more
it
used
just
than
makes sense.
Giovinazzi.
Yeah,
You can't have Giovinazzi and Schumacher in a team together. There's no driver leadership there.
No.
it would make more sense for them to sign any of the Raikkonens over Giovinazzi.
Hey, boy Raikkonen seems to be quite handy in a cart.
I was meaning Mintu as well.
Yeah, she comes across as quite fiery though. I reckon if she was like visor down, I reckon she'd be a bit of a handful.
I reckon she's more a rallycross type.
Possibly.
You're allowed more contact in rallycross. And I think she'd be elbowsy.
Yeah, there are three Schumachers. Three Schumachers. Haha. There are three Ferrari juniors, aren't there, looking for seats.
Well, at the moment, we'll get to see two of them this weekend, and of course, there's no F2.
Is it Callum Eilert and Mick Schumacher?
Yeah,
both in FP1. Callum Eilert in the Haas and Mick in the Alfa Romeo.
And before that, on Wednesday, I believe, all three of them are being run in a Ferrari at Mugello.
I think they did.
They've already done
that last week.
Yeah, they did that.
Oh, was that last week?
Yeah.
I thought it was this week.
Oh, a filming day.
A filming day and a bit of a run around in an older car, and everyone was all in identical team gear except Mick, who obviously has his own footwear deal.
Of course he does. Yeah.
I think they were all driving 2018 Ferraris.
Oh, back when they were vaguely good.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Is Schwartzman in a Haas at the end of the season?
I think, is he in an Alpha at the end of the season?
Alpha or Haas?
Something Ferrari powered that's not a Ferrari.
Yeah. So, maybe Schwartzman and Schumacher. I mean, that'd be a real roll of the dice. As I say, you got no leadership in the team if you do that. But it would be a real roll of the dice for Sauber / Alfa Romeo to do that. But two Ferrari juniors in the car.
It's looking more likely that Mick's Mick's going to take the F2 title, which means he'll need a seat for next season. Eilert seems to be the second of the 5 Ferrari drivers in F2, and he could well be ready for the move. Schwartzman, he's been great, and it's hard to remember that this is only his first F2 season.
Yeah,
maybe giving him the extra year and making him the reserve Ferrari driver. Driver for hire, the third driver for all 3 Ferrari-powered teams.
Yeah,
because I don't think who is the Ferrari reserve at the moment.
I think it's Giovinazzi.
Ah,
he's the official Ferrari reserve.
He is.
And Haas, is that still Pietro Fittipaldi or?
Ooh, I think it might be Louis Delatraz.
Oh, that rings a bell. Because Fittipaldi's been doing IndyCar, hasn't he? So
yes.
That makes it difficult. I couldn't even say who the Alpha one was.
It's Kubica, is it not?
Oh, it is.
I think it is. Yeah, Robert Kubica.
God, I forgot about that.
His money's all over the car.
I know. Of course, this makes it interesting. If it's going to be Schumacher and Kimi, is the Kubica money going to stay in the team, or is he going to pimp himself round to the highest bidder?
Schumacher will be enough eyes on that team if he moves up. But I mean, yeah, we'll see. But getting back to what we were saying about the Honda Red Bull thing, how do you think that plays out for Red Bull? Do we think it's Renault that are just going to have to supply with possibly a rebadge to the tag engine again, or something along those lines, or do we think that Red Bull are going to buy the development rights to the Honda engine, which I know has been talked about? But I mean, isn't that factory in Japan?
It is. I mean, we were talking about this offline the other day, and is it the Briatore situation all over again? And we get the Honda Mattershitz, the Red Bull Mattershitz car.
Yeah.
The Dietrich powered engine.
I think that's too much of a gamble for Red Bull.
It's too much to catch up on, isn't it? Like, you're too far into this era for someone just to come in from scratch and start building engines and hoping they do a better job than Honda.
I mean, it didn't really work well for Briatore last time because the Mechachrome, or the Playlife as it was called in the Benetton, was an absolute bloody lump.
Yeah.
It was bad at the start of the season and got progressively worse, and not just because Hans-Harald Frentzen was driving one of them.
But it's the same situation as well, because what you've got there is the same. It was a good Formula One team that hadn't thought about having to build an engine before. The same as, they'd have to put together a whole division within that team to build an engine, surely. Like within 6 months?
Mm. Yeah, that's the exactly. thing. I think they could do it in terms of resources, but not in 6 months.
I don't think it's. I don't think they would do it. I think it has to be Renault. I think for me, when it comes to
really and truthfully, the 2022 engines, the work needs to start on them soon.
Yeah, kind of fucks over.
The only thing I
Yuki
would say
as well.
The only thing I would say is if Mercedes are thinking about pulling out Formula One, as it is again looking more and more likely, as time ticks on with the idea of the Ineos buyout and stuff like that.
Ineos, Petronas, Mercedes. I think Mercedes will stick around as an engine supplier, and the team will be known as Ineos.
Toto has formally denied the Ineos takeover, which is usually the sign of a good F1 rumour when it's been denied.
Well, if that's the case, then would it not make sense for Mercedes to supply Red Bull?
Possibly.
Yeah, can they though? That's good. That's going to be the issue, because they're in with McLaren for quite a while. Obviously, Mercedes and Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin have got one hell of a tie-up, because Mercedes are supplying the engines for Aston Martin road cars, Aston Martin WEC cars, and it's Mercedes are shareholders in Aston Martin.
I have it in my head that Mercedes' contract to supply the team currently known as Racing Point is not long term. I think they've done a short term deal for next year, but I don't think they are for 2022. It's not like no one signed that.
I mean, realistically, Mercedes are big enough and have the resources that if Formula One turned around and said, "Everyone, Mercedes engines for everybody," they are a big enough entity that they can supply as many teams as that will take the engines.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really want to see that. I mean, I know
absolutely not.
Virtual Statman Sean Kelly was saying that he can recall the days in the 70s when there were only 3 engine suppliers, sometimes 2, depending on the race, and most of them were Cosworths.
Cosworth were building engines and Ferraris.
Yeah. And whoever else was in.
I'm just trying to think what the third one would be.
Judd.
Possibly, yes. And
Judd would have supplied engines back then.
Yeah, and maybe even Brian Hart.
Yeah, I think Hart was a bit later than the 70s, wasn't he? I think Hart came sort of 80s, 90s.
But I think
don't forget, Brian Hart supplied engines to Jordan when they first started.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when they got to Japan in the 70s, then you had the one-off entries that came in with the local drivers, and they were probably sort of backed by, you had some guy driving a Honda, you had some guy driving a Toyota, and some guy driving a Yamaha. But the engines were a lot simpler in those days, and you could probably just take the engine out of a van and put it in the back of a Formula One car.
But don't forget as well, like Yamaha have provided engines in the past for Arrows. Yamaha was the team that Damon Hill nearly won the Hungarian Grand Prix for in '97.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah. But I mean, the whole since the turbo hybrid era started, it's
locked people out, and I disagree with locking manufacturers.
To paraphrase Paddy Lowe, making a Formula One engine these days is a difficult process.
Yeah, it's not just that. They locked the competition out. I mean, look, Honda came in 1 year late, and it ruined them for 4 years. They were. You can't just come in now and expect to produce something until 2026. Now is the right time for Formula One bosses. And I'm looking at kind of pointing the finger at Ross Brawn here and the rulemaker side of things. To start opening up the rules so that other manufacturers might be tempted to join Formula One, because I think, and I don't necessarily mean them as manufacturer teams, but definitely as engine suppliers. I'd love to see, and I'm repeating myself from last week here, I'd love to see Ford and BMW, back in Formula One, even if it's just as engine suppliers. Just giving it a go, because these are big names in Formula One's history, and it would be good to have them back on the grid. I don't like the idea that it's Renault, Ferrari, and Mercedes, and that's it.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it puts Formula One.
I really hate the idea. I really hate the idea that IndyCar is just Honda and Chevrolet.
Yeah, I was going to say it puts Formula One only one step above IndyCar, and that's just a battle between two engine manufacturers.
And the thing is, when the rule changes were all being talked about, I think we heard Porsche were interested, Cosworth were interested, Aston Martin were interested. So there were engine manufacturers who wanted to get involved, but because they'd missed the last engine change, they needed another engine change to actually get a foot in the door, and that hasn't happened. So they're now off busy doing other things, so that opportunity has just completely been missed.
Yeah, because they had the big summit at Bernie's Biggin Hill base, didn't they? And they came away from it with absolutely nothing. So yeah, I think the time is ideal for Ross Brawn to make things opened up. I mean, maybe we'll get the Dominicali effect. He may be a fan of getting this done.
Let's hope so.
Yeah,
it would be. It would be a shame, because we all know that Mercedes have made the best engine since these new regulations came in. And it's going to stay that way until the regulations change. So maybe it's time to change the regulations and level the playing field out even more.
Yeah, it's going to take some balls to just sort of sit there and just say, look, we're opening up the engines a bit more. We need more engine suppliers, because the sport needs them. I'm not ashamed to say that at all whatsoever. I'm going down the road of becoming a spec series. I don't think so anyway, because then you'd all have the same engines and the same chassis. It's all about the drivers. Formula One's never been just about the drivers.
No, I mean, you've got all the spec series underneath it to actually prove the driver skill that you're good enough to get to F1, where you get yourself in with the team.
Yeah, but most people don't watch the lower series though. Most people want to watch Formula One and would prefer the idea that the cars were equal. So when Lewis Hamilton wins a race, they know it's because he's the best.
I can see the appeal of that, but that's not the Formula One has ever been.
That's not how teams would want to get involved, though, is it? They want to show off their product rather than some driver.
Yeah, it's always been technological innovation as well as driver skill. It's having the two things put together. You're only going to do well if you're in a really good car, but at the same time, you get people, drivers like George Russell is at the moment, for example, putting that Williams on a Saturday right up where it shouldn't be. Clearly, that man's got an awful lot of skill because he's in a car that's nowhere near as technologically advanced as those ahead of him.
And then, conversely, you get Luca Badoa, who manages to put a Ferrari that's capable of winning races in 20th.
Right. Yeah, and going backwards round corners when Lee's watching races.
Yes, that was tremendous.
So, I mean, yeah, Formula One has always been about the best. The winner is usually the best driver in the best car. You go back historically, and that's been the case. And the times when you've had the close battles for championships, it's been the two best drivers in the two best cars.
Yeah,
and that's what it was founded on, and it's never been sort of discussed as a spec series. During the sort of 70s and 80s.
Is that an excuse though, not to do it?
This is what it's always been. I guess it's kind of sticking to tradition, and this is what it's founded on, and this is what it'll stay as.
I think the thing is though, we're talking about like a thing that was put together pre-internet, and there's so much entertainment out there now. It's Formula One's competing with everything from Netflix to people that sit there watching TikTok dances for 2 hours.
Yeah, how's that going? How's that going, by the way, Lee? You got many followers yet?
I don't really do it a lot, to be honest. I just use it for clips. I've got some good views for Musty Audio clips. Get some decent views on some of them. But
keep dancing, man. Keep dancing.
The thing is, it's things have to evolve. It's in the same way. Think of Formula One like how serials used to be put out, where you would sit down at 8 o'clock on a Thursday evening and you would watch X series, wherever it is. But it doesn't work now doing that. That's what people prefer, it when you just dump a whole series there and people can watch it when and if they want. Things have to evolve.
I misheard you and thought you said cereals and thought we were talking about Cocoa Pops for a minute.
No. Cocoa Pops have evolved, and they're not as nice as they used to be.
And you see, there was all the outcry when they renamed Cocoa Pops to Choco Krispies for 6 months.
Yeah, that can.
That was ridiculous. But but yeah, the thing is, it depends which way you look at it. Personally, I think Formula One does need to move more to entertainment rather than technical innovation, because it's not the forefront of technical innovation. It still happens within the sport, but especially with the stranglehold having that Formula E have on all electric cars. Not that we particularly want all electric Formula One cars anyway, because Formula E is shit. It's they have to make racing entertaining. IndyCar doesn't give a fuck about innovation.
But that's not a spec the series. That's not a series that's been built, is it? On that kind of thinking. That is literally a spec series. All that's been agreed from the word go that they would have pretty much the same car all the way through.
Yeah. Everyone's got the same car. Everyone's got the same aero package. Everyone's got a choice of one of two engines.
But let's not forget here, Formula One is hemorrhaging viewers, and it's. I know we can bat around the Sky paywall with Formula One all we want, but the top and bottom of it is there is paywalls for lots of stuff all over the place. I mean, I pay for Netflix. There's very few things I actually want to pay for on Netflix, but I pay for it for things like Stranger Things, because I know that whatever time it drops, I think it's usually around. Well, it should be soon, shouldn't it? Is it usually Halloween? But I know when that drops, I'm going to love watching that. So I'm quite happy to continue paying my $8.99 a month for Netflix. Just for that, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
So if Formula One had a broad enough appeal,
if Formula One was $8.99 a month, it'd probably pick up more viewers.
Probably.
It's the fact that with the paywalls and with going down the Sky route in a lot of Europe, they've kind of priced themselves out of the market of being mass available.
I think you're right, but I think they're also struggling to get new viewers. I think there's only because people will constantly talk about Max Verstappen and people like Lando Norris bringing younger people in. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a thing. I think you might find younger people watching Lando Norris's game streaming, and he becomes like a 2-tier celebrity. But unless the sport that he actually does is engaging enough to keep people in front of the television, then I think you're going to have a real struggle. Look, we've been.
You know what part of the 2022 rules is about, though?
Well, no, absolutely, and hopefully the 2022 rules will fix this. And to be fair, it is pushing things more in a spec series kind of way. but I think that's the way it needs to evolve. It needs to evolve to flatten the performance delta out between the cars. It really does need to do that. Otherwise, I think Formula One is just going to continue to be in this rut, and it won't be what we want it to be. We want it to be this huge event sport, and it'll turn into a niche sport, and then it'll suffer because the money won't be there. And Formula One needs money.
I think the problem it's got at the moment is the identity isn't there. Like, what is Formula One? Like, when we've got people like Honda pulling out, the big name brands aren't seeing it as the showcase anymore for the technology, and this is how we're going to sell our road cars, because that's become Formula E. There's no point in sort of copying the IndyCar formula because IndyCar's already doing that. So it's in this sort of weird treading water. How do we make ourselves different to everything else?
I think you're right in a way, but just the fact that Formula One is a legitimate world championship makes it different.
Yeah, I suppose to an extent.
Yeah,
Formula E does Formula E not claim to be a world championship?
It does now. It's paid an absolute fuck ton of money to the FIA.
Ah.
Yeah, but also don't forget that there's Formula E races are not Grand Prix distances. When they're not Grand Prix distances, there's no way that an electric vehicle, even all these manufacturers who are in Formula E, would be able to. Don't forget, Mercedes are in Formula E as well.
Yeah,
they don't have the technology to power a race car to its maximum potential for a Grand Prix distance.
You know, what's a Formula E race? It's about 130, 140 kilometres, which is about half the length of a Grand Prix.
Yeah, I've never really looked at the
roughly.
distance, but yeah, it's 45 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget as well that not only was it this season was the first season where they weren't swapping cars.
Second, I think they did it last year as
well. Was it the second season?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not saying Formula E produces better racing from a marketing point of view, though. That's what teams, or not the teams, the brands look at.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but Formula E is still very, still in its infancy.
Yeah.
Because oh great, I could buy a Jaguar electric car, fantastic, and it'll go. Oh, I'll only do half the distance of one of those hybrid cars that Formula One cars are. I'm not saying that's how people are thinking, but do you know what I mean? It's clear that electric cars still don't go as far. It's the future, don't get me wrong. There's absolutely no way of avoiding this now. Electric cars are the future. Mm-hmm. We've just discussed this with Honda and how much they fucked up by putting all their eggs in the hydrogen basket. But at the same time...
That sounds like a Heston Blumenthal recipe.
Hydrogen eggs.
Basket. Yeah, hydrogen cooked eggs. But yeah, there's a long way for electric technology to go before... it can be considered the top tier.
Yeah, I mean the electric car is years behind because the Stonecutters held it back. They admitted as much.
All right.
Who holds back the electric car? We do.
Has WEC completely binned off the idea of the hydrogen series?
I'm not sure.
I've
because
lost track.
It looks like hydrogen got it wrong. Those who backed the hydrogen, Honda were those. It looks like they got it wrong in terms of
a time scale. I think that's
time scale and costing more than anything, because costing trying to remove hydrogen from, because it's always stuck to something. And to remove hydrogen from something is not only an incredibly volatile process, it's very, very expensive.
Apparently 2024 WEC is doing hydrogen.
That's at the moment, because WEC has changed future regulations God knows how many times. So for the next 2 years, H is going to stand for hypercar, then it'll stand for hydrogen.
Think so. Not sure.
Oh, I'm.
We'll see when we get there.
I am thoroughly lost and thoroughly confused. And
because a lot of car manufacturers they don't know what to do, where to put the things in. To be honest with you, Formula One needs to be able to reach out and say, you need to come on board because X, Y, and Z. But at the moment, it looks like they're just literally just sitting there going, yeah, and we're Formula One, and that's not going to be enough.
That's fair.
Right, that is true. Eiffel Grand Prix this weekend. Then we kind of touched on it earlier, but there are bits to talk about. There are predictions to do, and I've just remembered I've not got a gas predictor. So I am just putting an emergency tweet out saying, somebody send me a prediction. Somebody send us a prediction, please.
Do it.
Need a guest.
It's a slightly risky one, this, because if you're just asking for a prediction, they could send you anything.
Oh, I know.
They could send you, I can't even predict what they might predict.
Yeah. Right, need a guest prediction for this weekend's GP. First to DM gets to do their... Oh, God, I can't even spell. Do their top 3. Right. Keep talking. I'm just like.
But you're talking. You're making noise. So
right. So, what we already discussed about the Eiffel Grand Prix is I think we said there were 7 drivers on the grid that have actually driven at Nürburgring before in F1.
So let's remind ourselves: Hamilton, Rosberg.
Not Rosberg.
Not Rosberg. The other Rosberg's replacement. Bottas. Shit. Yes.
The real Finn.
The Finnish one. Raikkonen, Vettel, Ricciardo, Perez, Grosjean. That's the 7.
Yes.
I think so, yeah. 7 drivers have raced there before. I don't think it's changed an awful lot in terms of layout since the last time F1 was there. Although it did used to produce some pretty interesting races. So, I'm looking forward to Formula One's return to Nürburgring and seeing what modern F1 cars is sort of the...
Oh, wow.
That's a
I've
DM.
been there in Formula One since the turbo hybrid era.
Thank you, Lucas. You are this week's guest. You're first. Right, cool. We've got a guest predictor. Sweet. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. Now, overtaking is apparently not massively difficult at this one.
It's easy to streamline, isn't it? Slipstream. You can slipstream quite easily. That added with the power of, I'm guessing there's going to be DRS on the aim straight, the start-finish straight.
Yeah, I think it's a 2 DRS zone, isn't it?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so there should be some overtaking, and as I said earlier, it's an old school layout, so you're going to get decent racing as you would expect at an old school circuit, rather than the Tilkedrome. Oh, here's going to be an action zone because we've designed it that way.
If there's choking it. If there's less action zones, does that mean we'll get less battle forecasts?
Maybe, possibly.
Yes.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's going to be a real separator again, isn't it? Sort of, not men from boys as such, but you might filter out the shit from from the ones who are worth keeping.
Now, has anyone seen the weather forecast for this weekend? Because that could be the great leveler.
I have a weather forecast in front of me. Friday, cloudy. Saturday, rain. Sunday, rain.
Ooh, exciting!
That's at the moment. We are still quite a way out.
Now, is that racing rain or podium rain? Because there is a huge difference. Because podium rain is always more likely to happen than racing rain.
Yeah, well, there's 50% chance of rain during qualifying, and an 80% chance of rain during the race. At the moment, we are still a few days out, of course.
Inundated.
But then it says rain on Monday and Tuesday as well. So if it starts raining, I don't think it's going to stop.
Yeah, long period of wet for Eiffel.
Yeah.
This is good.
It's fine because it did look like it could be snowing if the temperature was going to drop.
Yeah, at least we're not going to get the first threat of a snow race since Silverstone. I want to say 1999, when for some reason they had it in April.
2000, I think it was.
Was it 2000?
Yeah, I think so. Lee, you were there, weren't you?
2000 I was there. I can't remember which one I was at, to be perfectly honest.
99 was the Schumacher crash. That was at the normal time of year. Yes, it was the 2000 one. They held it just before Easter, and it did look like snow at one point.
I just hope it's a wet race. We seem to have such few wet races now.
I think we'll match for drama the last time we were in Germany, which of course was Hockenheim last year.
And we all know how that went. Unfortunately, Netflix aren't going to be with Mercedes this weekend.
They were last race, though, weren't they?
Yes, anticipating Hamilton matching the Schumacher record, and then obviously.
Well, that's quite interesting because Hamilton could match Schumacher's record at the Nürburgring, which was a happy hunting ground for Michael Schumacher during the 90s. I think it wasn't confirmed, but I think he pretty much sealed his second world title at the Nürburgring in 95 when Hill retired from the race and Schumacher won it. I think that basically he needed 1 point after that in the remaining 3 or 4 races just to retain his title. So it would be interesting to see Hamilton match Schumacher's record at the Nürburgring. Especially if there are fans being allowed in, how he gets received if that happens.
I noticed Mick Schumacher's not doing a celebration lap in his dad's car this time.
That's a shame. No. I think the fans would probably be more interested in that.
Definitely. Shall we have a stab at some predictions?
Yes, I will. I don't mind having a stab at some predictions. Shall I go first? I don't seem to ever go first.
You can in a second, because I'm just going to make sure I can get these noted down. Okay. Right.
We're all good to go. I'm going to say Hamilton win.
Yeah.
Verstappen second. Lando Norris third.
How many overtakes will we get from last lap Lando?
I don't know how many overtakes we'll get, but just...
So after that brief, ever so slight technical fuck-up, we're back. Chris, yours was, which I don't know if it recorded or not, I got Hamilton, Verstappen and Lando.
Yes.
Right. Lee, you can definitely go next, because we are interested in what you've got to say, and we are listening to you.
Lewis Hamilton.
Has he disconnected now?
No, I'm here.
Right. Okay, what's yours?
Lewis Hamilton.
Yep.
Max Verstappen and Valtteri Bottas.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a wet race prediction. I'm banking on the weather. I'm gonna go for Verstappen, Bottas, Ricciardo.
My phone keeps auto-correcting bot to bit.
As long as you know what it is.
Don't forget, Bottas welcomes wet as much as a mogwai.
I'm gonna go for a freak Bottas in the wet going well performance.
Despite the fact he's finished, he's not great at sliding that car.
No.
I mean, if it was on ice, it'd be even better. I am going to go...
He's great at sliding it to 5 seconds behind Lewis.
I too, I'm thinking this is wet, but I'm going for a Hamilton win, Verstappen second, and Danny Rick third. Right, let's...
Yeah, a Ricciardo podium is coming this year. I just...
Oh, yeah.
I don't know when it's going to happen, that's the only thing.
Right, I'm going to have a look on the Twitters. Now, Lucas was the first one to respond, but hasn't got the predictions in. So, Lucas, you can do the next race. You can be our guest predictor on there. Ben Scott said, do you have DMs open? Am I being massively trolled? It's like, no, you're not being massively trolled. The DMs were open. You can do one of the future ones. And Michael McCabe was the second person to get predictions in. So, again, I'll put you down on the list to do a future one. However, the first one to send in their top three is regular listener, Jem.
Cool. What did Jem go for?
Not what you'd think.
We would think Ricciardo podium, wouldn't we?
You would think, because Jem is well known as being a little bit of a fan of Danny Rick. However, she is going for Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen as per usual, but she has submitted a rock star this week.
Oh, very good.
And it's for somebody for just being himself. So can you guess who that is? Bearing in
That'd
mind
be Daniel Ricciardo.
it's Danny Rick.
Wasn't going to be Giovinazzi, was it?
I don't think it was. I mean, Gasly was an outsider for Gem's Rockstar because I think he's number 2 in her affections.
Yes, yeah, I think so too.
But
I think I don't know if you caught it when you were recording or not, but I think Lee said this might be a good race to stick that quid on George Russell getting a point.
Ah, we missed that tragically. The internet denied us that insight, but
it might well be worth it. I may even break the habit and put a Formula One bet on.
Good lord!
I might. I'm tempted to go for Make sure you do it pre FP1 as well, because that's when the odds change.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, I mean,
in fact, I'm doing it now.
I mean,
I'm going to do it live on the pod.
If you want to do your own predictions, then go to the website 3legs4wheels.com, go to the games section, and you can take part in the prediction league. And that's top 3, fastest lap, pole position, and number of not classifieds. So
which could be a few.
So that includes DNSs as well as DNFs. I think that's that for the preview. So while Chris is placing his bet, it's probably time for Lee to delve into his inbox and read something out that isn't arrestable.
George Russell is only 6-1 for points.
What is 6-1?
George Russell on William Hill.
It.
For points finish, I'll put £1 on it. Worth it. It was just to get an extra bet.
I mean, he's not. He hasn't got a 6-1 chance of winning, of scoring a point. That's obvious. That's just bad. They're just bad odds.
Yeah, they are pretty bad. I've had a lot of drivers are actually like negative odds.
Yeah, which website are you frequenting for this?
William Hill.
Other betting websites are available.
Websites are available,
but they're not allowed to sponsor us.
Yeah, I did quite well last year in my Formula One betting, but usually I put bets on like every race, but there's been races this year that I just haven't put any bets on because there's just been nothing worth taking a punt on.
Yeah. I usually have a couple of silly ones on like first retirement, and which is of course always you go for Grosjean and stuff like that. But again, I've not felt the urge this year.
It's sometimes when you see like a Red Bull at like 15-1 or something, and like they're 5th on the grid, and you think, ooh, there's a chance there.
And then it never happens anyway.
No.
Bet responsibly. Right, so last week's shunt
a classic
was one of the best that we've had. There's been a lot of comments about last week's shunt, and all of them have been, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we can be quite as out there, but we do have one.
Hang on, I need to close down various windows so that I can't be accused of cheating, and only keep the recording window open. Okay, I'm good to go.
That's what I'm doing. Right, who's done this week's shunt?
This is from Tim Jackson.
Hello, Tim.
Various people reminded me to do total shunts for them this week, but he reminded me first. So
I do believe this. Yeah. I do believe he is a first-time shunter.
He is a first-time shunter.
Long-time listener, first-time shunter.
I was born.
Yay.
In 1976.
Okay.
I began my racing career in 1997. I drove for the French Porsche Carrera. I drove in the French Porsche Carrera Cup, winning Rookie of the Year.
Right.
Careful now. 1997 Rookie of the Year. That sounds like something that Alan Partridge might have on his mantelpiece.
In 1998, I moved to French F3, winning 9 races in my 4 seasons in the series.
4 seasons in French F3 in your
it's
early 20s.
It's not a big talent.
Wow. Okay. Not Nico Prost. He's nowhere near old enough.
So 4 seasons in French F3. That's a long...
Sebastian Loeb would be about the right age, would he not?
Yeah, that's a good show.
Didn't really... The single-seaters were not his thing.
No, that is true. He'd be about 44, wouldn't he?
Yeah, French, mid-40s.
Yeah, good one. Good call.
Number 4. In 1999, I raced in the Le Mans 24 Hours, finishing 17th overall, 6th in the GT2 class. I have raced 5 times at Le Mans. My last appearance coming in 2015.
So I now do not think.
Okay, I'm not sure that I know of any Sebastian Loeb.
No.
I mean,
Le Mans successes.
The problem is with Le Mans, the field is that big.
Yes.
You know, yeah, I've got.
Yeah, I have no wisdom here.
Yeah. Next clue.
I moved to F3000 in 2002, going on to participate in the in Renault F1 team tests in 2003.
Okay, so somebody who tested a Renault F1 car but probably failed to make it into the sport.
Talking of F3000, and we're talking about Christian Horner's lack of speed last week. Somebody sent us a link. There's a couple of F3000 races from, I think it was 1997, that somebody's put up on YouTube when Horner was driving. And he was at the back of the grid with Nick Heidfeld and Juan Pablo Montoya at the front. Oh. But it was a 30-car grid, and I think he was about 27th. So, yes, Martin Brundle did have it right. He wasn't fast enough. If anybody wants to see those, I'll let us know, and I'll share the link.
In 2004, I competed in the Nissan World Series, finishing second in the championship behind the mighty Heikki Kovalainen.
Oh, wow.
Right.
I might have added mighty.
Do you need
That's like a guess, please.
No, I was going to say you need a guess on this one, don't you? Bloody hell. It's not about Frank Montani again, is it?
It's someone average and French, isn't it?
I can't think of anyone more average and French than Frank Montani.
See, he sounds like a Talladega Nights character.
Yeah,
Will Ferrell was Frank the Tank, wasn't he? Yeah, why not? Yeah, Frank Montani.
Yeah, I have nothing bad.
In my F1 career, my F1 career started in 2005 at the Australian Grand Prix. I raced for 2 complete Formula One seasons for 2 different teams.
Christ.
Sounds like Frank Montani to me. Williams and then Jordan, was it?
I don't think it was in Williams. He was in Super Aguri. Right, so who were the Jordan drivers?
Super Aguri and then Jordan, was it? I'm sure Montani raced. Oh, I'm getting confused, sorry. Wrong driver. Carry on.
I'm just trying to think the other Jordan driver, because there was Thiago Monteiro, who got on the podium, and the Jordan driver that didn't. Yeah, next clue.
In 2005, at the Turkish Grand Prix, my team principal, who was a qualified dentist, performed root canal surgery on me in the early hours of Sunday morning. I was clear to race and then crashed into Juan Pablo Montoya whilst being lapped, causing him to lose second place. Fernando Alonso on the penultimate lap.
That is a lot of information to unpack right there. It
seriously is.
I can remember that. I remember that happening.
So I feel like Eddie Jordan is not a qualified dentist.
No, he's a carpet fitter. Well, rugs. Have they gone again?
No.
They just didn't feel the need to audio react to your.
I would like to say that we didn't go in the first place.
Was Aguri Suzuki the principal at Super Aguri?
But I mean, he was a racing driver. I don't think he was actually a dentist.
Well, Miguel Oliveira.
Harry Hill's a comedian. He's a qualified doctor.
Miguel Oliveira in MotoGP is a dentist.
If you Burt was one of the best things on TV ever.
I will fight you.
Doesn't matter. You can fight me as much as you like. You're still wrong.
We got another clue.
Yeah, 2 of them. I was the team owner of Ocean Racing Technology, who raced in GP2 and GP3 championships in 2009 and 2012.
It's not
a 3-year gap in between.
It took him that long to raise funds for a second campaign.
Here, everyone. Well done. Let's do that again.
From 2009 to 2012.
Okay, I see.
There's a from in there.
It's not Robert Doorknobs, is it?
Is he not Dutch?
Yeah, but you don't have to race in your own national series.
I feel like this is someone French who's come through the French Junior Series and then ended up with a Renault test. That's... It feels very French.
You said there was one more clue. Is this the Spaffer, or is there a...
No, this is number 10. There is a Spaffer, but I feel that the Spaffer is too easy.
Oh.
I thought that was the idea of the Spaffer.
Yeah, but you like it to still be a bit of a quiz.
Yeah, true.
Number 10, I have raced in the World Touring Car Championship every season since 2007.
Only I paid attention to the World Touring Car Championship after the year 2000.
It's okay, by not paying attention to the World Touring Car Championship, you have something in common with the rest of the world.
Except for this guy, apparently.
Sometimes he's raced on his own in the Touring Car World Championship.
And judging by previous performance, still managed to come second. Runner-up in a choking competition.
Runner-up in the 2020 World Touring Car Series, which nobody bothered racing in because COVID.
I couldn't even tell you who, the reigning World Touring Car Championship winner is.
Probably a fucking Coronel.
No, I don't think they're that good.
Well, no, because they follow everyone, so they always come last. How old are the Coronel twins? Or brothers?
I have no idea, but they're definitely yeah.
I'll give you a Spaffer because at least it'll make you think a bit more. You've already mentioned me.
So that narrows it down to Frank Montani or Robert Doorknobs.
Or Tiago Montero.
Because Montero raced for Jordan, and who else would he have raced for? Oh, hang on, he has been a team principal, and we've seen him running a team in World Touring Cars, and he couldn't race because he got a concussion.
He had a concussion for about 6 months.
Yes, it will be. It will be. Shall we go for it?
Yeah, if you want to.
Are you Tiago Montero?
I am Tiago Montero.
Nicely remembered about his head injury.
Yes.
Which is the most notable thing about him, even though he's had a podium.
The Spaffer was my only F1 podium came for Jordan at the infamous 2005 US Grand Prix, which only had 6 starters. I celebrated alone on the podium long after the Ferrari drivers and most of the fans had left.
In fairness, most of the fans had left by lap 10.
Yeah, it was a bit of an easy Spaffer.
Just a tad, but that was a really good one. Thank you for sending that one in.
Thank you, Tim Jackson. Woo, that one was real.
I was thinking about that before you started shunting.
Yeah, God. How do you send in a shunt?
Sorry, Tim Jackson. Ooh, you've never heard that one before.
He sent me a message today reminding me to do it. Saying, will you use my shunt? And I sent him back a GIF of Andre 3000 saying, all right.
Top trolling. Brilliant.
So,
if you want to,
how do you send in a shunt and receive a GIF?
Yeah, if you want to send me a total shunt, send me a PM on Twitter at Total Shunt, or you can do the same on Instagram at Total Shunt.
And if you want to get in touch with the rest of us, you can get us at 3 Legs 4 Wheels on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you're old school and want to email, and also if you want to get a Total Shunt on the reserve list, that's 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. Individually, we are
at Sean Cowper,
Flood 21,
and at Pablo100. We've got a Discord server going as well. There's always loads of chat on that. And if you want to take part in our iRacing League, drop us a line on there. You can get a link through the website as well. We haven't got quite enough Discord boosts to get a unique URL, so it just gives it a load of random characters. But you can.
Hello and welcome to all of our new listeners on Spotify.
Yes. You can now get us on Spotify, which quite a lot of people are doing, as we found out this week. We've had quite a large number of streams on Spotify recently. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, thank you very much. If you've got this far, which according to the Spotify stats, 50% of the listeners actually do get to the end. And we've also got the extra show on Patreon as well. You can subscribe to that from as little as $1, €1, or £1 a month, because they now take multiple currencies. And that gets you an extra show and us generally talking about, God knows what. I think that's about it. Formula Lee, quick update. Vietnam in the drawing of Mercedes, and you've still got till Monday the 12th to get that in, and next week we will have the results of the first 3 Formula Lee races of the season, because I've been incredibly lax and not put everything together yet. So, my fault. I think that's about it. We'll be on Discord during the race and qualifying Saturday and Sunday. Get your predictions in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.